Here are some more examples for you in showing how to solve solve triangles, not right triangles. Notice the three parts that are given: side C, and angle A. As I had mentioned before, I always like to have my angle measure in the lower right-hand corner, so that's going to be angle A of 120 degrees, and now I'm just realizing that's going to be obtuse. So we're going to have a triangle that looks something like this. Therefore, the side opposite it will be the side A, so A is going to be a value of 2. Keep in mind that that 2 almost acts like a pendulum, and so it's going to be swinging. We want to see how far it can swing if this side over here, side opposite it, is going to be a side of 1. Obviously, we see that 2 is greater than 1, so I'm going to go ahead and just say I kind of know that it's going to be something like this, just like that. Okay, and then we can also find the height of the triangle too. Remember, step 1, always find the height. And so to do that, remember we can represent the ratio sine of A is equal to the height over the hypotenuse in this case, which is 1. Okay, so if you think about it like that. Okay, so since sine of A is 120 degrees, keep in mind that 120 degrees places you in quadrant 2, but technically it also has a reference angle of 60 degrees. So you're really just finding like sine of 60 degrees, and it's going to give you the same measurement, but they're both going to be a positive number, and so sine of 60 is going to give us a root 3 over 2. So sine of 120 equals h over 1, or just h, I guess. And so therefore h is equal to root 3 over 2. Okay, if you just want to do the calculation there and you want to see what root 3 over 2 is, right, we can just do root 3 divided by 2, and that gives us a value of 0.866. Okay, so therefore, what that tells us is that since 2 is greater than 0.866, we definitely will get that triangle. However, because 2 is also greater than 1, you're not going to be able to make another triangle as it swings around the other side. So you're only going to get one triangle here in this case. Okay, so let's go ahead and find the missing parts of the triangle. So if I go ahead and just draw my triangle in, you'll notice the parts that we have. I'm just going to go ahead and draw it again just so I can label it a little bit more clearly. I have 2 here. I have 1 here. This is side C. This is side A. Angle A. Therefore, this is angle C. And therefore, this must be angle B and side B. All right, so from here, we can go ahead and use our law of sines. So sine of 120 over 2 is equal to, let's go ahead and find angle C. So sine of C over C equals 1, so 1. From here, we are solving for angle C. So let's just go ahead and calculate that now. Okay, so again, let's see here. We said that sine of 120 was root 3 over 2, so we already have that value. But we got to take this answer and now divide it by 2. Oops. Answer divided by 2. And then we're going to take that answer, which is 0.43. And don't forget that we need to arc sine it. So that way we can actually get the C value by itself. So arc sine. Oops. I'll have to push enter first. Arc sine of our answer. And that gives us an angle measure of 25.66 degrees. Okay, and then now we need to find angle B. Let's find angle B. So now that we know that A plus B plus C is equal to 180 degrees, that would mean 120 plus 25.66 degrees plus measure of angle B is equal to 180. So from here, we can do 180 minus 120 minus, let's do answer. And we'll get a value of 34.34 degrees. All right, to find the last side, side B, we can go ahead and say sine of 120 over 2 is equal to sine of 34.34 over B. So to solve for B, we've got b sine 120 is equal to 2 sine 34.34, and then divide both sides by sine of 120. So I'm just going to go ahead and enter this in my calculator right now. So we already have the 34.34. I'm going to go ahead and say we're going to take the sine of this value. We are going to multiply it by 2. And then we are going to divide everything by sine of 120. So we get a b value of 1.30 basically. Okay? So there's our 3 parts of this triangle here. There we go. Okay. Let's go on to the next example. So A is 4, B is 5, A is 60 degrees. Again, let's draw it first. A is a 60-degree angle. The side opposite it is side A, which is a length of 4, and this is going to be a length of 5. You'll notice that 4 is less than 5, but is 4 actually going to be the hypotenuse? That's what we want to figure out. Okay, so again, find the height. So sine of 60 is equal to h over 5, or h is the same thing as 5 sine 60. What you'll notice if you just keep doing this over and over is you find that you are always taking the side adjacent with the sine, and that's basically always going to give you your height. Okay, so let's go ahead and calculate this. Gonna go ahead and clear everything. So 5 sine 60 is equivalent to 4.33. So that's the height, which means 4 is greater than 4.33. So it's actually going to pass under that, it's going to pass above that height. And so because it passes above that height, oh, look at that. We actually cannot form any triangles. It doesn't touch our bottom side. And so for that reason, we can just say 0 triangles are formed. There's nothing else to do here. We can't solve this triangle because that 4 just didn't form a triangle. Okay. Example 3. Angle B is 40 degrees. The side opposite it is B is equal to 2 and C is equal to 3. Again, we got to figure out where does that 2 relate to. Is it too short? Is it shorter than the height? Or is it exactly the height where it'll form one triangle? Or is it going to form 2 triangles? Okay, so let's find the height. Again, I'll do it over again from the very beginning. So sine of 40 degrees is equal to the height over opposite over hypotenuse, so over 3. Or if you start to see the pattern here, you're basically always getting adjacent side sine of given angle. Okay, so 3 sine 40. Let's find the value. 3 sine 40 gives us a height of 1.928, which means if you take a look at the values, 1.9282 is definitely larger than that. So it's going to go under it. It's going to pass under, and it's because 2 is smaller than 3, you're going to end up intersecting that line twice. So in this case, we have 2 triangles formed. All right, so we got a little bit more work cut out for us for this problem here. Okay, let's find both of those triangles. The first triangle we're going to look at is the triangle in which it actually crosses the first time, right here. So I'm just going to label everything again. So we have 40 degrees, B is 2, C is 3. So therefore this is angle C. We have angle A and side A here. Okay, so those are the things that we want to find. I'm actually going to go ahead and write this in a different color just so that you're aware of what we're actually solving for. A, and C here. Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and proceed. All right, so to find our angles and sides, you'll notice we do have 40 and 2 together, which leads me to want to use the law of sines. So sine of 40 degrees over 2 is equal to, let's find the c's, right? Because we have a 3 there. Okay, so we have 3 on the bottom and sine c there. All right, so solving for angle C, we've got 3 over 2 sine 40 degrees equals sine C, and then we'll have to arc sine both sides to get that C. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so on my calculator, I need to do 3 over 2 sine 40 degrees. And that answer I will need to arc sine. So arc sine answer. And we get measure of angle C is 74.62 degrees. Okay, we'll say about equal to since we're rounding there. Since we have C, we know that to find angle A plus B plus C is equal to 180. And therefore we have 40 plus 74.62 plus measure of angle A is equal to 180. And so measure of angle A is equal to, let's go ahead and do that, 180 minus my answer, minus 40. It's going to give me 65.38 degrees. So that's measure of angle A. And then lastly, let's find side A. So we can go ahead and do sine of 40 degrees. Remember, always use the given. Okay, so the given was the 40 degrees and the 2. Don't use your C because that was rounded. So sine of 40 over 2 is equal to, now we do have to use this one though, sine of 65.38, that's our angle A, compared to side A. Okay, and so when we solve for A, we get sine of 40 there, divide by sine of 40, and then you get A. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that. So we've got 2 times sine of the answer, 65.38. Okay, and then we're going to take that answer, and we are going to divide it by sine of, take that answer and divide it by sine of 40. And that gives us an A value of 2.83. All right, so that's our first triangle. Remember that we had 2 triangles that were formed here. So what I need to do now is think about my other triangle in which the line had crossed at the second location there. So what we have is a triangle that will look more like this. Okay, again, you still have angle B here. B is now over here, which is 2. C is 3. And I'm just going to label everything else. Therefore, that means that we still have the same angles, angle A, side A, and angle C. Well, we know that B was 40 degrees. Now, since angle C, you'll notice it has now become obtuse compared to it being acute. Really, it's just the supplementary angle of that. Okay, so if you found that angle C was 74.62 before, then this angle will be 180 minus 74.62. Okay, so it's just going to be the supplementary angle of that. Okay, so going back to the drawing board, going back to our calculator, what we have now is clear. So 180 minus 74.62 will give us an angle measure now of 105.38 degrees. From here, it's all the same. Okay? So from here, we can find angle A. So A plus B plus C equals 180. And so now we say 40 plus 105.38 plus measure of angle A equals 180. So measure of angle A is equal to, let's see here, 180 minus 40 minus 105.38 is equal to 34.62 degrees. There's measure of angle A. Okay, and then we only need one more thing to solve for, side A. So sine of 40 over 2 is equal to sine of 34.62 over A. A sine 40 equals 2 sine 34.62. I apologize, I'm writing a little bit quickly. I'm forgetting all my degree symbols, aren't I? Okay, so make sure you have your degree symbols everywhere. And then divide both sides by sine of 40. Okay, so A is equal to, let's go ahead and find that. So 2 sine my answer, and then take that answer and divide it by sine 40, which means that A is a value of 1.77. There we go. Okay, so we have measure of angles C, A, and A. Notice in this problem here, we have a total of 6 answers because we have triangle 2 and also triangle 1. So make sure you solve for both triangles. If you have any questions, of course, you can always pause, rewind the video if needed.